In the heart of the Red Sea, beneath the glare of a relentless sun, and amid rising geopolitical heat, the deck of the USS Harry S. Truman comes alive. A swarm of steel and speed, dozens of F-18 Super Hornets, armed, fueled, and ready for war. This is not a drill. This is not deterrence by presence. This is active combat readiness, locked, loaded, and waiting for the call. Over the last 72 hours, the United States Navy has intensified air operations against Houthi militant infrastructure across western Yemen. The catalyst? A barrage of escalating threats, missile launches, drone swarms, and direct attacks on commercial shipping moving through one of the world's most vital maritime arteries. The Red Sea is bleeding tension, and Washington has made it clear: freedom of navigation is not up for negotiation. From the flight deck of Truman, precision strike packages launched in tight formation, streaking east toward confirmed targets, radar arrays, command nodes, and suspected drone control centers. The objective was surgical: cripple the Houthis' ability to see, communicate, and strike, and they hit hard. Satellite imagery confirms multiple impact zones, charred radar masts, collapsed bunkers, scorched launch sites now smoldering under desert wind. These strikes weren't symbolic, they were strategic. Intelligence assets on board Truman fed real-time battlefield data to targeting teams. AWACS birds loitered overhead, signals intercepted, coordinates locked, risk to civilians minimized with the kind of algorithmic precision that defines 21st century warfare. The mission didn't end when the ordnance hit. Airborne combat air patrols now maintain a continuous presence over the Red Sea, deterring retaliation, scanning for threats, and projecting dominance. This isn't escalation for its own sake. It's containment. It's message sending at Mach 1.8. Rear Admiral Thomas Beck, commander of Carrier Strike Group 8, called the operation a necessary measure to ensure the safety of international shipping and to preserve the rules-based maritime order. But the rules are under siege. Houthi forces, heavily backed by Iran, have transformed Yemen's western highlands into fortified strongholds. Tunnel systems, mobile launchers, and camouflaged drone depots built deep into the terrain, designed to withstand bombardment and strike from the shadows. And while U.S. air power has the reach, the question remains: can it sustain the pressure? The Houthis claim civilian casualties, unverified, unconfirmed, but already circulating in the information war now raging online. Propaganda clips, framed photos of rubble, cropped angles. It's a battle of perception as much as precision. Meanwhile, the international response has been swift. The UK, France, and Saudi Arabia have voiced support. Naval assets from multiple nations are repositioning. Commercial shippers reroute around the Red Sea corridor, losing time and billions. The global economy feels the tremor, and as the flight deck crews of the Harry S. Truman reload and refuel, one truth cuts through the haze of politics and posturing: the jets are not on standby, they are ready. The sky is theirs, and if provoked again, so will be the battlefield. In the wake of the strike, U.S. Navy forces operating in the Red Sea remain on high alert. Carrier S has resumed rotational patrols over the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, maintaining aerial dominance in a region where seconds now count. Commanders aboard the USS Harry S. Truman have implemented elevated threat protocols, citing credible indicators that Houthi cells may attempt retaliatory launches within a 72-hour window. Naval intelligence has observed increased radio traffic between suspected Houthi units operating along Yemen's western coastline. Intercepts suggest urgent regrouping efforts, with possible attempts to relocate remaining drone stockpiles to civilian areas, a known Houthi tactic aimed at complicating follow-up targeting. Electronic warfare units continue to monitor the spectrum for hostile emissions. F-18 growlers from VFAQ 137 remain airborne during key windows, suppressing any attempt by enemy radar to regain operational footing. In parallel, U.S. cyber teams have launched sustained network penetration efforts against digital infrastructure believed to be used by Houthi leadership for coordination. According to officials familiar with the operation, these efforts are designed to further isolate commanders and disrupt the chain of command in real time. Meanwhile, carrier-based surveillance assets are conducting terrain mapping over suspected launch corridors. The E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, equipped with next-generation radar, has been instrumental in refining the Navy's strike profile. Analysts report that the initial strike package was calibrated with data gathered over weeks of surveillance, ensuring target confidence rates exceeding 95%. The Houthis, despite heavy losses to infrastructure, retain a limited but potent capability to strike vessels within range. Of particular concern are Iranian-made Samad drones and the F-18 low-flying short-range systems frequently used in swarm formations. While primitive by NATO standards, these platforms are difficult to detect and, if not intercepted, can damage or disable critical maritime assets. U.S. destroyers attached to the Truman strike group, including the USS Bainbridge and USS Mason, have repositioned along likely approach vectors to intercept any attempted retaliatory strikes at sea. These Arleigh Burke-class warships, equipped with Aegis combat systems and SM-2 missiles, represent the first layer of kinetic defense. Rear Admiral Thomas Walters has directed the formation to maintain flexible positioning, allowing rapid response to both seaborne and airborne threats emerging from Yemen's western interior. "We will not allow disruption of lawful trade in these waters," Walters stated in a post-operation address to strike group personnel. Additional munitions resupply operations are already underway. The USNS Robert E. Peary, a dry cargo ship operating under the Military Sealift Command, has been rerouted to rendezvous with Truman and ensure continued strike capacity. Ordnance replenishment will focus on JDAMs, JSOOs, and HARM missiles. Pentagon logistics partners are also coordinating with regional partners to enable rapid overflight clearance should expanded operations become necessary. This includes Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Djibouti, all of which maintain critical airspace corridors adjacent to the Red Sea theater. Despite the successful initial strike, military officials acknowledge that the Houthis are likely to adapt quickly. Previous operations have shown their ability to reconstitute drone workshops and radar installations in under 3 weeks. To counter this, the U.S. is considering expanded use of persistent ISR platforms such as the MQ-9 Reaper and RQ-4 Global Hawk, which offer longer loiter times and high-fidelity surveillance across wide areas. The Department of Defense is also analyzing the potential for joint operations with Gulf allies. Discussions are underway regarding limited regional strike cooperation with Saudi and Emirati air forces, particularly against high-risk mobile launchers. In Washington, the National Security Council convened a follow-up briefing the morning after the operation. Senior White House officials, including National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, reviewed satellite intelligence and mission outcomes with top Pentagon planners. President Biden was updated on potential escalation scenarios and authorized continued air patrols for as long as necessary to deter hostile activity. Congressional leaders have expressed bipartisan support for the strike, though lawmakers on the Armed Services Committee have requested classified briefings on the strike's long-term objectives and metrics for success. The Defense Department has not ruled out a series of preemptive strikes if intelligence confirms preparations for future Houthi attacks. International reactions remain largely favorable. British and French defense ministries have reaffirmed their commitment to regional maritime security. The European Union issued a statement supporting the right of self-defense in accordance with international law. However, Russian and Iranian state media have sharply criticized the operation, calling it an unjustified aggression and a destabilizing use of force in the region. Chinese media outlets have taken a more neutral stance, highlighting economic risks to global shipping and urging diplomatic restraint. Back in the Red Sea, commercial traffic remains cautious but moving. Several shipping companies have resumed transit through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait under naval escort. U.S. Navy destroyers and Allied frigates are coordinating convoy security through the International Maritime Security Construct (IMS), a coalition formed to secure regional trade lanes. Merchant vessels are being advised to maintain AIS transmissions and report any anomalies immediately to coalition command centers. The Department of Transportation and Maritime Administration (MAA) has issued updated advisories, warning of potential retaliatory threats, but confirming the Red Sea remains open for commerce. Insurance rates for regional transit, which spiked following the initial Houthi drone attacks, have stabilized in the wake of U.S. military action. Experts now assess that the Houthi missile and drone network has been degraded by up to 60%, though pockets of resistance remain. The destruction of fixed radar sites is expected to reduce their ability to track and target shipping lanes for at least several weeks. Still, the threat environment remains dynamic. CENTCOM has confirmed that Quick Reaction Forces (QRF) are on standby in Djibouti and aboard amphibious vessels in the region should a crisis scenario unfold. Elements of the Marine Corps' Special Purpose Marine Air-Ground Task Force (SPMAGT) are positioned to support interdiction operations or reinforce coalition assets at sea. As of this hour, no U.S. personnel have been injured in connection with the operation. All strike aircraft returned to carrier safely, and post-mission assessments are ongoing. The Navy has released no further details regarding the number of munitions used or specific targeting coordinates, citing operational security. With tensions still high and no clear end in sight, the USS Harry S. Truman remains on station. Its deck is constantly in motion. Jets roll, catapults cycle. Air crews brief and debrief in tight rotations. Below deck, the ship's Combat Information Center is alive with data, mapping threats, rerouting patrols, updating strike protocols in real time. This is the modern battlespace, and it extends far beyond Yemen. As analysts continue to examine the long-term implications, one point is clear: the strike has shifted the calculus. The U.S. has drawn a clear line in the sand. Interference with global trade will be met with decisive immediate force, and if necessary, this strike will not be the last.